Good morning, everyone. Welcome to our Lively U Virtual Learning Academy. Today's program is on advanced directives, and Dr. Tim Drotar is going to present from McLaren St. Luke's Family Medicine Residency. So please welcome him.
Thanks for having me, everybody. Hope you're doing well today. My name is Dr. Timothy Drotar. I'm a second-year family medicine resident at St. Luke's. And so today I'd like to talk to you, as she said, about advanced directives. But before we do that, I'd actually like to give you guys a little scenario. So imagine that, that you have this car and you've had it for a long time. It's been a good friend, but you kind of have your eye on a new car. It's something that's comfortable.
Can you hear him? Carlton?
Yeah, after I unmuted.
Oh, I have to unmute?
The speaker is muted.
Oh, did you, oh.
Okay. All right. I think that fixed it. I don't know what happened there, but so I have this scenario for you guys. So you have this car, this car you've had for a while, and you're looking to get this new car, this that has everything you want. So what we're really hoping to do is actually sell this older car so you can get this new one. But you want to take it to the shop and get it kind of looked over, get some oil in it, and top off the fluids and everything. So you drop it off at the shop, and you go home. You take care of some errands and some other things, and it's been a while, and you haven't heard back yet. So you give them a call. And they're like, oh yeah, the car's ready to come to be picked up, and come by and come get it. So you go by later, and when you get there, the manager comes to talk to you, and he says, while we're doing the oil and checking it over, they found that the transmission was failing, the engine was going out. There were some like rusted spots on the doors. There was like a ding on the windshield, and the exhaust was kind of noisy as well. So they went ahead and put a whole new engine in, new transmission. They put new doors on there because there were some rust spots. They replaced the entire windshield. And by the way, the tires were a little low on tread, so they went ahead and replaced it, gave you 4 new tires. And here's your bill for $16,000. And will that be cash or credit? So you're a little taken aback, and you ask, why didn't you ask me? Why didn't you call me and ask me about this? And he says, well, we tried to, but we only had an old number for you. So we called your son, who's also a customer here, and talked to him. And he said, yeah, this is probably what she would have wanted. Just go ahead and do it. So how do you feel about this situation? Are you a little bit angry or confused, or a lot of different emotions about it? But what if there was a way to tell a shop in advance, what you wanted before they did the work? So there is something like this in healthcare called advanced directives, which is the focus of my talk today. So advanced directives are written forms that clarify to medical staff and to families as well what kind of medical care you want to receive in the event that you can't tell them. So we don't always think about these situations, but there may be a time when somebody is unconscious because they're in a coma, maybe they're septic, or maybe they have severe dementia. They can't, they're not able to make clear decisions. So these forms really are made to appoint someone to make decisions on your behalf in the instance you can't make decisions for yourself, or they can specify what your wishes are for yourself in advance as well. So people often have strong feelings about the type of care they want to receive, whether or not they want to have a ventilator, a tube stuck down their throat, chest compressions, shocks to the heart, things like that. And so these forms help to specify usually the kind of things that that they don't want, such as the ventilation and the CPR, things of those nature. But it can also be used to specify the things that you do want for sure. These things are not always helpful. In some cases, like in terminal cancer, these life-sustaining measures don't really show a lot of benefit, but are costly and can cause some damage to your body. Another thing to consider is if you are to be ventilated, um, you may give up the opportunity to have meaningful interaction with your loved one should it be a terminal illness. You won't be able to hug them. You may not be able to communicate or be fully cognizant of what's going on. So you give up that opportunity if you were to have that kind of care done. So I think as doctors, we don't always do a good job of explaining all of the downsides of the treatments, but there are some that you should consider and will help to make your decision. So the forms also can describe whether or not you want to go to the hospital and under what circumstances you want to go to the hospital, and also can describe your end of life wishes, whether it be what your wishes are for pain control and wanting to be comfortable. The big thing about these forms is they do allow you to have some control and peace of mind when you do suffer some terminal illness, and some element of control is really important in that stage. The forms are written in very easy to understand language. I have a couple forms here actually, and they're very, very simple, easy to fill out, and should be easily understood by family and anybody else. So these forms are, after filled out, usually stored either at your house or the doctor's office or with family members, somewhere safe where if you need to bring them with you to wherever you're receiving care, that it can be easily accessible. So when the time comes when you aren't able to speak for yourself, that's when these forms become active. So that's when, as a physician, when I'm seeing you in wherever it is, whether it be the hospital or other setting, I'm going to look for these forms to see what your wishes are, because I want to honor those wishes. And so a question that people are always wondering is, when should I do this? It's not always brought up during visits, but the earlier the better, because it's hard to predict when you're actually going to need it. You can't predict when something's going to happen. And so a lot of people tend to wait too long to fill it out, thinking, oh, I got plenty of time, I can just wait. But by that time, often it's too late. And there have been several times when families are forced to make very gut-wrenching and hard decisions. A lot of times arguments erupt. Family members get divided on what they think you would have wanted. And a lot of strong emotions. And in some cases, family members actually refuse to speak to each other anymore because they weren't sure what you wanted, and there's different views. So in order to do this, though, you do need to make sure that you do need to make sure that you have decision-making capacity. So making sure that you're not in any kind of severe dementia or things like that. This is more for the family members, but something to keep in mind. You want to do this if you have Alzheimer's, make sure that you're doing it early in the process. So there are two different kinds of advanced directives I'll talk about today. The first one is called a living will, which basically specifies what your wishes are for yourself, should you not be able to communicate that to family or to the doctors. There are some different kinds of treatments that specifies and talks about. One of them is life support treatments, which include CPR, chest compressions, ventilation, shocks to the heart. Another one is life-sustaining treatments, which include things that are less aggressive, but help to keep you alive, such as nutrition through your nose, a feeding tube, dialysis, antibiotics, certain surgeries. Another class of treatments that it discusses is life-enhancing treatments, which are basically making sure that you're being kept comfortable and as pain-free as possible. So what the living will does not do for you is specify somebody to make your decisions for you. And that's what the durable power of attorney for healthcare is for. This is a form that becomes active, once you are not able to communicate or speak for yourself. and it designates somebody to make these medical decisions on your behalf, according to what their understanding of what your wishes are. So it can be somebody that you trust to make your decisions with, but it can't be your doctor, or it can't be someone who's involved in your healthcare directly. So those are the two main kind of forms. These forms can be found actually a lot of different places. You can get them at your doctor's office. If you have a lawyer, you can get them from your lawyer's office. They're also available at your health department. You can call your area office on aging, or you can also get them online at the Lucas County Probate website. So you don't have to go to a professional per se to get these. You can actually even write them out yourself, but these forms that are standardized are a little more thorough and might be a better option for you. So again, these are readily available. You don't have to see your doctor or lawyer, but it's helpful if you do, in some cases, at least discuss it with them, because they could help to kind of go through it with you. So once you have these forms, you should spend some time thinking about what your goals and wishes are for your care. How aggressive do you want people to be with your care? As I talked about before, there are some drawbacks to treatments that we give you. They're not always helpful, and they maybe actually go against your goals of life by getting those. So decide whether or not you want to live well, or you just want to be kept alive, because there's a very big difference with those two. This is a hard decision to make. You should discuss with your family, if you have any kind of pastoral or spiritual advisor, talk with them as well. But make sure that these are communicated with your family. Once you have the forms, you decide, you have an idea of what you want to, how aggressive you want your care to be. When you have a terminal illness, then you want to have it signed in the presence of 2 witnesses, or you can have it signed by a notary public anywhere. So after they're filled out, then please make copies of them, give it to your doctor, your lawyer, give it to family members, and keep a copy at home as well. And make sure you let people know where they're at, so they can bring it to the healthcare facility when it's time to utilize those. So important thing to remember about this is that they are able to be changed. So if you change your mind at some time, you can do that. It's not set in stone. So it's just make sure that it gives you a little bit of peace of mind knowing that you can change it. So don't let that be something that stops you from getting it done. So if you don't have time to modify the forms, at the very least, make sure that you communicate very clearly with your doctor and family what your wishes are, should things change from your first wishes. So as part of the advanced directives, they often have a discussion or clarification regarding what's called your code status. And people are often confused about this and whether or not this means they're going to be in pain if you were to withdraw care. So as it says here on the screen here, first and foremost, everyone is going to be given comfort measures. We're going to keep you comfortable in the hospital, regardless of what your code status is. We do not want you to be in pain or suffering. The code status itself is really a determination about how aggressive we're going to be with your the treatments we give you. So starting with a full code, this is basically the default setting when you come into the hospital or healthcare setting. If we don't have any other orders, we're going to do full aggressive treatments, being chest compressions. We're going to give you shocks to the heart if your heart were to stop. Give you medication and treatments for all of your conditions that we're dealing with in the hospital, and if necessary, we're going to give you a tube down your throat to help you breathe and keep you alive. So it's basically full care, all aggressive treatments. So you may be wondering, well, why wouldn't everyone just be full code, right? But in many cases, depending on the medical condition, these treatments are not helpful and may actually be harmful. For instance, with CPR, in some cases, it may restore your heart rhythm, but it does cause rib fractures and other complications. You can have a punctured lung. and it's not even really a guarantee that it's going to work. So something to keep in mind. Other things such as kidney failure, terminal cancer with that spread, or severe blood infections. These are instances where CPR is not always very successful. So that's some reasons to not do it, I guess. But anyways, full code is the default status. So the other two code statuses to be aware of that you would want to choose between are the DNR orders, which are the do not resuscitate orders. So DNR CC means do not resuscitate comfort care, which means that we're going to stop all the futile treatments that really are not going to help sustain your life. And we're only going to give you treatments to help keep you comfortable and pain-free as possible, so that the disease itself, the disease is able to progress naturally. And so the goal of that is to make sure that you're, as it says, as comfortable as possible. You're not short of breath, you're not anxious, and it also allows you to have this happen in a setting of your choice as well. So the other code status is do not resuscitate, or CCA, or comfort care arrest, which means that it's kind of a mixture between the full code and DNR CC, and that all the measures will be taken as if you're full code up until the point that your heart stops or you stop breathing. And this does include, if necessary, a temporary breathing tube, if it's considered to be like a reversible thing that would improve afterwards shortly. So once that time your heart stops or you stop breathing, at that time, then you would be allowed to just pass away naturally without aggressive treatments being done to you. So those are the three main classifications. There are some modifications that can be done according to whatever you want. If you know whether or not you want everything except intubation, everything except CPR, it's really up to your personal preferences. So it is very customizable. So the next steps after you get these forms is to, like I said before, to give it to your physician, your lawyer, whoever, and those involved in your care, family members. Make sure that you let your loved ones know, because they may not know you filled out the form. And then keep in mind that you can always discuss with your doctor about the forms and any changes that you want to make. So in conclusion, I hope that this was helpful regarding advanced directives, and helps you understand that this gives you the ability to take some control at a time when you still can, because it's important to live and in some cases pass away on your terms. And this gives you the ability to do that, which I think is super important. It also prevents a lot of family anguish, confusion, and sometimes a lot of guilt with the other family members. So it gives them a lot of peace of mind, and it gives you peace of mind as well. And having a plan is something that is very comforting for everyone involved. And so that's my presentation. If there are any questions, I hope I can answer them to the best of my ability, and hope we got something out of that.
Thank you so much, Dr. Drotar, for that presentation. And we'll allow everyone to open it up and have questions, and I'll stop the recording.
I'm going to add one quick thing here. Can you hear me?